Today we're looking at the Slack API, and specifically we're looking to build a clone of the popular Donut Slackbot integration. Now obviously this is very feature-fledged, application, so that will take a long time to make that happen. But one of the things that we kind of need at Supabase, and why we sort of try to do this as a hackathon, is we're a fully remote company and we need to build internal networks. We need to make sure that new people coming in know each other, and as we're growing to make that happen. And so one of the crucial features of Donut is that you can make kind of these random connections and allow people to meet for coffee chats. And so that is what we've done. We've built a little Donutbot clone called Superjam. So Superjam, we just kind of boiled it down. This is kind of what we need at Supabase, a bot to help folks to get to know each other and meet for coffee jams. And we'll just decided we'll do it on a monthly cadence because we're also doing other initiatives like super swarming, where more people get together and do things. And so we'll set it, as a monthly cadence for now. So that's the basic functionality. We want folks to be randomly matched. Everyone in the company once a month to be randomly matched with someone else. Now, obviously, we know that this can be, something that doesn't currently fit your schedule. So we'll have a little unsubscribe me forever, in which case you will get a notification from the Donut bot. And then, once you're ready to rejoin, you can simply resubscribe. And so this is what we'll want to do in our clone. So we'll match people randomly. We will then message them on a monthly cadence using cron jobs and edge functions. And then also we'll track if they are subscribed or not subscribed. And we're using the interactivity webhook feature from Slack for that. Okay, so let's get started. We'll just use this quick start here. You can find it. I'll link it in the docs below as well. So you can go to your apps, you can create an app, and you just say from scratch. We'll call it Superjam. I'll create a workspace here. We'll just call this Superjam test for now. So most importantly, we'll need some OAuth permissions. Now, what we can do is, first of all, we'll need to set some scopes. So crucially, what we'll want to do is we'll want to actually read out kind of all the members. So we'll need a user's read. So here we can view the people in the workspace. And then also we might want a user's read to read their email addresses, so that we can filter, for example, to only include our own employees, which would be quite important, so we don't send a message to everyone who is in our Slack workspace. So we can start with that, and then what we want to do here is we want to have a function. So this is an edge function to seed our members. Now, if you have a new project, you say something like Supabase init, then you can generate vscode settings for Deno. So you would say yes here. And then what is cool is here we have the settings generated for Deno with Deno enabled paths. So that's what we need for our Supabase Edge functions. And then, what you can say is Supabase functions new and the seed members function. Now, in our case, you can also, of course, work off of our existing repository. So there we already have that in there. But then, with the settings that we've generated, you have all the goodness of Deno and TypeScript kind of right within your VSCode IDE. We can use the Slack Web API client. We'll just call it the web client. And in Edge Functions here, we can say npm Slack Web API. We need our Slackbot token. So after we've created our OAuth scopes here, install to workspace. And so we'll just say allow, so you need to install it to your workspace. And basically once it is installed, you will then get the bot user OAuth token, and you just copy that out and you move over into your .env example, and you copy that into your .env file. So you can do copy, so we just need the Slack token and copy that in. In our seed members function, what we are doing is we're getting the user list. So you can limit this here as well. But so we just want to get all our users. And then we check our user list, and we're filtering out. So the user list, actually, you can't filter the API request to the Slack API specifically. So we'll need to do this kind of later on. So we can just use the array.filter method, and we can just say, okay, we want everyone who's not a bot, everyone who's not deleted. And then we can also look at the kind of guest or single channel users, and so we can find these with is restricted and is ultra restricted. And then we'll just do an insert into our members table. So we can see this here in the migrations. We have our members table. So we'll just have an ID, the team ID, the name, the real name, and the email address. And so in our seed members, we're just extracting that from our user list. So we're just writing a reduce method here, and we're just checking, okay, if we have all these fields, and then we're pushing the user to our member insert list, and then we're just inserting it into our we're actually upserting it, because we'll run this method on a CRON timer. So basically every month before we're sending out the matches, we're then having a CRON to pull in all the members into our database. So what we can do is we can do Supabase start, and we can have a little look at our Supabase Studio locally. We can zoom in here. Actually, we also have light mode, if that's your kind of thing. So we can look at our schema visualizer to just have a look. So this is our members table. And then later on, we have a matches table where we just have an array actually of the user IDs and the message ID, which actually is the channel ID. Where we send them the message. And so now what we can do is we can look at our members. So we don't have any members right now. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to run our function. Now we can run our function locally if we want to do that. So we can say Supabase functions serve. And then if we want to run this locally, we need to say no verify JWT, and we need our .env file, and our .env file is supabase.env. And so we can now run our function, and we can say seed members. Now I've run this method, and I didn't want to expose anyone, so us, John Mayers, Thor and Tyler, us, so that's no surprise here. And maybe it's also good, as you're testing this, to limit it to a smaller data set. I'm gonna delete out John as well, just to make sure that we'll get a testing set where we can, I've been testing this in a message with Tyler, so he won't be too surprised that he's getting that. And yes, we're good to go. So now we can look at the matching logic. So create a new function called match. And again, we'll need our web client and our Supabase client. And so basically what we're doing is we have a method here that is just sending the message. So the way we're sending a message is we need to open the conversation, and we can specify basically the users as a comma separated list. So here a comma separated list of user IDs up to 1,000 users. So we're fine, we just need 2. And then we'll check if we have a channel, and then we can post a message to this channel, and we're using the blocks to kind of send a couple different blocks within that message. Now, in order to send kind of open conversations and post messages, we need a couple of scopes. We have the match method. So for this one, we need specifically the IM right. So to start direct messages with the users, this scope, we need the group. So we can start the group messages with 2 of our users, and then we need the chat.write scope. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, so these are the scopes that we need for our different methods. And then what we can do is in our match function. So here basically just as we're getting the request, and we'll trigger this from the database using cron jobs, we then get our members. In our case, we're just making sure that we have, only Supabase email addresses in there, just to make sure, we're not sending it to anyone outside of Supabase. So we want to make sure of that. And so we can use the like filter here with the percentage sign to match kind of anything before and after, and then just add Supabase. And we also want to make sure that they are subscribed. So we can match on is subscribed true. And then we're just doing, some very naive shuffling here. And yeah, after we've shuffled our user list, we're just chunking it into a size of 2. And then lastly, what we're doing is we're just doing an await promise all settled. And we're just checking, that we have 2 users in our matches. So, if there's an uneven number of users, the last one who, doesn't have a match will be ignored for kind of this time around. Now, obviously, this matching logic is very, very naive. Now, in the future, you might want to add things like making sure that previous matches aren't matched again, making sure that, maybe people across different time zones are matched to each other. So, for example, we have a couple people in Singapore, and make sure, these people know each other pretty well, so maybe we don't need to match them. So yeah, we can do that. And then one thing that's really cool here is blocks. So we can do a section here that's just kind of the markdown section. We can include the user ID. So Slack will later translate that into the usernames and have our message. And then lastly, we have our action. So that's our interactivity, the button, the unsubscribe button that you saw down here, unsubscribe me forever. Yeah, and then this triggers an action, and we'll have another function to subscribe to that interactivity webhook, and then we just give it kind of the unsubscribe ID. Okay, cool. And then lastly, we're just getting out the channel as the message ID. We probably should call it the channel ID. And then we're just matches with messages. So we're getting all the results from our promise all settled. We're just checking that, the ones that are fulfilled, we're then pushing the match value, and then we're inserting into our matches. Okay, and so now what we can do is, just double make sure that you have, only the members in your table that you actually want. And then what we can do is we can serve our function again. And now we can say match. And basically it'll say okie dokie here. And we can see now today Superjam has sent us this message. Okay, hard to connect. And now we can go into our project database, and we can look at the matches, and we can see here that we have gotten our match. and the message ID. So this is the channel ID. Perfect. And so now lastly, you know, if Tyler's like, now what the heck is going on here? Unsubscribe me forever. And then what we'll see is that in our members table, we'll just get the here is subscribed currently is true, and that just will change to false, and then next time around the user won't be included. Now the way this works is we have our interactivity webhook. Now in this case, one thing that you have to look out for is that the Slack API will send it as a form URL encoded. So you know, no problem here though, we can use Express. I just found that was kind of the easiest way of decoding the URL encoded body. And then we can just do here, okay, post requests, we're listening on the interactivity webhook, and then we can get the payload out here. Now, so yeah, it's funny, it's first URL encoded, and then you need to parse the payload as JSON. And then we're just checking if we have a block action. We're just checking what kind of action we have. So the action ID is either unsubscribe from our button earlier. And now if they say unsubscribe, we then send them sorry to see you go, as well as another action button to resubscribe. And then in the case of subscribe, we'll just say welcome back. And then we just have, you know, here variable is subscribed. Basically, in the case of unsubscribe, we'll set it to false. In the case of is subscribed, we'll set it back to true. And then we're just updating our members table. And yeah, we're sending a conversation again, which is opening a conversation, in this case only with that one user, and we're posting the message. Now, lastly, what we'll need to do is we'll need to deploy this interactivity webhook. So we can say Supabase functions deploy interactivity webhook. And then now one important thing is we'll need the no verify JWT flag. So we can bundle this and deploy it up. We'll need to deploy kind of all our other functions as well, but we'll just look at this web. So we'll need to get our endpoint URL, and then we'll need to set this up. Interactivity and shortcuts, you'll just set that to on, and then you put in your request URL. So this is this one here, and Slack will send an HTTP post request to this URL, and you just save the changes and you're good to go. And then the last step is to set up our cron job. So we'll need pg-cron and pg-net extensions. So you can also go to your dashboard, into the database settings and extensions, and you'll just need to make sure that you have the pg-cron as well as the pg-net extensions here enabled. You can also do this programmatically through migrations. And then we need some cron jobs. So we'll put them in here, but the thing is that you need to put in, you know, kind of your schedule. So this is 6 a.m. on the database time zone. Supabase database time zone is UTC. So 6 a.m. and then every first day of the month, basically, is what this means. We'll then send an HTTP post request to our seed members function. So you'll need to put in your function ID here, and our authorization anon key. So that way we make sure that not, you know, just any random people can trigger our function. And then basically we're just saying, okay, here 6 a.m. we're seeding the members, and then 7 a.m. Every first day of the month we're sending out the matches. And that's pretty much it. So in combination with the database, we're getting cron jobs from the database and Supabase Edge Functions. We can build some neat Slack bots and Slack API integrations. And yeah, hopefully this was useful for you. I'll link you the entire code below as well, so you can maybe deploy it in your Slack workspace as well and get to know your team members more. And as always, let us know what you want to learn next in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.